How are you?
Well, thank you, and yourselves.
Doing just fine. Thanks for joining us. Would you mind sharing with us something about what you're doing over there in South Africa, what it's like, just for those of us who aren't as familiar with, the farm killings and I guess what is seen as an inevitable kind of genocide?
Yeah, I represent an organization called Suidlanders, Suidlanders. It means more or less Southerners or people of the South, which is the world's largest civil defense organization. And our sole purpose is to prepare for a civil war, which we see as an inevitability in South Africa. We prepare legally and lawfully under international law. There are provisions for such things. And we speak very much about the various events occurring in South Africa, which the mainstream media is unwilling to cover, because the new South African Rainbow Nation, as it's referred to, is the darling of the world, and nobody wants to say that it's not working. I beg your pardon. We talk about farm murders, although we're not a farmers' defensive action organization. We talk about the collapse of the economy. We talk about the massive theft by the government and various other themes. To answer your direct question, there is a phenomenon in South Africa now where over the past 25 years, in other words, the period of multiracial democracy, there has been a drastic increase in lawlessness throughout the country amongst blacks, in townships, in white suburbs, wherever, regardless, this event is occurring. Now, it is particularly severe amongst the white farmers. The white farmer murder rate is generally agreed by liberal organizations, and I could give them by name to you if you wish, to be about 145 per 100,000. The rate of intentional homicide in the USA is 4.88 per 100,000, to provide a frame of reference. The overall rate of intentional homicide in South Africa is 36 per 100,000. The farm murder rate is a minimum of 145 per 100,000. We've recently released documentary evidence which demonstrates quite clearly that it is closer to 184 per 100,000. So it is egregious, it is exceptional, whether it's fashionable, whether people like it or not, whether it fits the liberal narrative or not, the mathematics is conclusive.
Well, that's what really matters, isn't it? And that's the exact kind of statistic that a lot of the media does try to suppress for some reason. I'm curious. Have you yourself dealt with some crimes?
Yeah, I have a contusion here in my head that's never properly healed from being attacked. I have a wound in my lip from being attacked separately by an axe. I've been shot at on two separate occasions, once twice and once. My father was made to kneel in the sand on a beach, and for a kind of coup de grace type killing, and the gun misfired twice, and then the assailants ran away. My oldest son was assaulted at the age of 12. The mother of my children, we're not married, the mother of my children has had her house burgled from top to bottom twice. She's twice been the victim of smash and grabs on her way to work in a motor vehicle. So there are many such anecdotes. That's a handful from the top of my head.
Right. And the South African police are about as corrupt as you can get.
Well, recently a study was conducted throughout the whole of the continent of Africa on governance and corruption and so on. And the South African Police Service, as it's known, was proven. I mean, it was a survey, so it's not really disputable. I mean, the answers that people give are the answers that people give. Was demonstrated to be the single most corrupt institution in Africa.
So, yeah. And understaffed on top of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, here in proportion to the crime, absolutely understaffed. As a matter of interest to you, the private security industry of South Africa, to which people are resorting in the absence of an effective police force, possesses very similar numbers to the entire police force. So you have the police force, it's more or less useless, and people are employing the same number of people as private security guards as substitute.
And that's especially strange since it's kind of a communist model there, right?
Yes. The African National Congress of Nelson Mandela is part of what is known as the Tripartite Alliance. And it's an open secret. You'll just never catch the media revealing it. But it is formally and officially and indisputably part of what is known as the Tripartite Alliance of the Congress of South African Trade Unions, which provides the activist aspect on the ground for the African National Congress, the African National Congress, which is the political facet of the Tripartite Alliance, and the South African Communist Party, which is the ideological aspect of the Tripartite Alliance. So we are experiencing what is known as the National Democratic Revolution, which is a slow revolution towards pure communism. And I think that responds to your point. You're 100% spot on.
When you see the indifference of the UN, do you think that they have an awareness of what's actually going on in your country? And how do you go ahead, please.
Then there are no two ways about it. These people are not stupid. But I do think that we can now safely say, although it might have sounded like hysteria or paranoia some years ago, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, I think that we in the West particularly can reasonably safely say that there is a trend towards some kind of a new world order or global governance or global acceptance of a universal set of norms and values, which is largely antithetical to Western values, and that they are being injected into Western societies from outside. They're not erupting from within. They're almost being imposed, and people are acquiescing to them. With enough propaganda and indoctrination, people capitulate. I think that the United Nations knows very well what is happening in South Africa, but wouldn't dare say that the blue-eyed boy of the world was anything less than an angel.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. It's a lot. There's a lot coming from Africa too into other Western countries, and I guess maybe it's a replacement thing or something like that. I've heard it called the Great Replacement or something. I'm not really sure, but in your country, it seems to be a matter of eliminating whites. In your preparations for civil war, has this been like a military thing on your part? It doesn't seem like there's much of a chance to change hearts and minds there.
No, we don't stand a chance. That the white people of South Africa form 8% of the entire population, depending upon which census statistic you accept. At best, we stand no chance. So we're not belligerent. We don't prepare militarily. We don't pull the tail of the lion or tug the tail of the lion, as we say here in South Africa. All that we do is endeavor to position ourselves as well as possible for a cataclysm. One of our biggest, most prominent political leaders said on Thursday, the 6th of November 2016, that he's not calling for the slaughter of all whites yet. And one of the kings of the South African black tribes, one of our kings, is a very, very close acquaintance of mine. And he said to me, Simon, that in black idiom, because language is used differently. He said in black idiom that unequivocally means that leader is asking people to prepare to be ready to commit a mass slaughter when the time is ripe. We've recently had the Secretary General of the African National Congress, which is structured very much along communist lines, hence Secretary General, state that black people should start seeing whites as their primary enemy. Another leader said that the recent specter of carcasses is how did he put it, a foretaste of what awaits whites in South Africa. So there is this almost universal, right across the spectrum of black leadership, calling for people to understand what's coming, that the conclusion of the National Democratic Revolution of the South Africa Communist Party will be the extermination of colonialism of a special type, which is characterized by colonialists who remain after colonialism. So colonialism is gone, but we still have the whites, and in order to complete our revolution, we must kill them all. This is being spoken openly. It's in the newspapers, it's on television. There is no secret to it. And all we do is prepare under law, quite lawfully, for a cataclysmic event of that nature.
And so much what happens now is already extra legal. But just quickly to follow up on Julius Malema, I believe, his statement about we're not calling for the killing of whites at this time or yet. I guess we call that a dog whistle.
Yeah.
So that would be his message to the blacks, and you're hearing that as well. It's I can't imagine anything more frightening. I mean, and you're preparing legally for something. It seems like it's going to be coming by force. Let me tell you, you have my sympathy is what I'm trying to get across, and my empathy. And I'm wondering if there's anything that people can do. I'll give you a minute to formulate that and let Kevin Downey Jr. ask what he's trying to ask.
Simon, do you find a lot of white people moving away from South Africa to other countries in anticipation of what's about to happen? Are people leaving?
Yes, there's a massive exodus. The number of people emigrating from South Africa to mostly, but not only, Australia, New Zealand, the USA, and Canada has increased by 1,400% over the past 4 years. And I could babble on about various other statistics and facts, and we all know people who are leaving. But I think that statistic speaks for itself. People are terrified of what is being foretold by black leaders.
And even without the coming civil war, it's already, as you were describing, crime-wise, it's a bit of a problem. And you have, for lack of a better word, from the video that I watched, like a voodoo doctor kind of a situation where there's a lot of selling of organs and theft of organs and drinking
Yes.
of, if you have sex with an infant, it cures AIDS and stuff. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, it's pervasive. Nominally, much of South Africa is Christianized, but in practice, it's not really quite like that. People hedge their bets. They'll say they're Christian because it has less stigma than saying I believe in the witch doctor, and you sound all sort of fashionable and modern and civilized and what have you. But the majority of people believe very strongly in two forms of religion, namely animism, which is where you attribute living characteristics to inanimate objects. So, for example, a tree might possess a certain spirit that will make you fertile. And atavism, which is the worship of ancestors. And if you ever come to South Africa and you walk down a city street, you'll find many 2-cent and 5-cent and 10-cent and 20-cent coins lying on the floor. And you may wonder to yourself why that is the case, in a poor society. It's a gift to the ancestors. Everybody knows it. That's what it is. People very, very much believe in this religion, and it is well understood by the people that if you rape a virgin, she will cure you of AIDS categorically. It's inevitable. If you eat a part of a woman's breast, you as a mother are likely to be more capable of rearing children. If you eat a woman's labia, then you will become more fecund. If you eat a penis and some herbs with, some smoke, particular smoke of a certain type wafting across your face at the time that you do it, then you will become more virile. We have concepts such as Begaminangetwa, which means eyes for me only. Which is a love potion made of various kind of dubious ingredients that makes you irresistible to the lover who would otherwise have spurned you. We have a concept in South Africa called ugutwala, which is a legally recognized concept under African customary law. And ugutwala permits a man to rape a woman and pay her father damages and then keep her. There's no sort of dispute or controversy. If you rape her and you pay the damages, she's yours. End of story. Whether she likes it, she doesn't like it. Whether the father likes it or doesn't like it, he might be opposed to it. He might have had a better man in mind for her. But the elders will say to him, well, look, this guy did the right thing after all. You should be a little bit tolerant.
Gosh, he did the right thing after all. Gee whiz. I also heard it through this video, and it's a fascinating video, and I should link to that. It's a situation that EMTs, when they come along after a car accident, they may just cut your penis off and take it and leave you there. Is that true?
Yeah, there have been such incidents, yes, indisputably. I mean, it's not a fairy tale or a myth. It's an absolute well-known fact.
Imagine not having enough money to rape and then you lose your penis too. Well, this day just got worse.
Yeah, that's the worst kind of poverty. Simon, it's a pleasure talking to you. It's great to see you with a smile on your face and everything. And I had sort of expected you to be a little more dire and a little more severe, but you're a perfectly fun interview. Thanks for being here. Is there anything that like I asked before? What can we do besides be aware of what's going on down there?
Gentlemen, we are ashamed to come across in the world as beggars, but our reality is that we don't need a plan. We have the best plan in the world, and it's being emulated in 7 different places in the USA and in 5 different countries in Europe. We don't need a plan. We don't need experience. We don't need skills. We don't need numbers. We're the largest civil defense organization in the world, but we are financially in very difficult circumstances. Anybody who is interested in donating to us, anybody who has a heart for our cause, we urge you, please, it will be gratefully received. If you visit the website, there's no www, it's just Suidlanders.org. I see it on your screen. If your listeners visit that website, Suidlanders.org, at the bottom of the home page, they'll see opportunities to donate, and those donations will be very, very gratefully received and put to bitterly good use.
I'm sure of that. Well, thanks for being here, Simon Roche, and I hope to see you again.
Thank you. Yes, we hope so too. Thank you very much for having us.
Great. What a trip.
Yeah.
I mean, that is certainly rough, huh? That's a serious thing. That's like a serious thing. I mean, that makes our problems look like a cartoon.
Absolutely. And you know what? You can't